Nobody dreams of being a strata manager when they're 7, but here we are. Catherine, Kinga, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Hey guys.
So, Catherine, you are the experienced manager that is going to be talking us through what you went through. And Kinga, you're the recent licensee who's entering the field. Today's chat is all about who we are, why this topic is interesting, and what's going on in the world of strata. So take it away, Catherine.
Yeah, let's start out with actually, when I was 7, I did dream of being a strata manager. You know, I spent my summers in university. I've told this story on another podcast, but I spent my summers in university filing papers and doing Form Bs and typing up my Auntie Liz's dog poop letters. So, I knew where I'd gone.
That is very funny. And Kinga, at what point did you realize you wanted to be a strata manager?
Yeah, well, I heard the call that we needed some good people in the strata industry. And, when I was a kid, I sort of wanted to be like a female version of Indiana Jones. So I figured this is like the next best thing.
That is fantastic. You totally are, by the way.
Yeah.
It's interesting because you're coming into the industry in what I see as a time that mirrors very much the conditions that I came into the industry in. I took my course in 2011, and when I actually got a job was not for a year afterwards, and it was as a receptionist in a rental brokerage. And it was only because they knew my family. So I know I've had a little luck getting through, and I'm certainly grateful for that. And I want to offer support to those who are coming up through, because it's not easy. I remember handing out dozens of resumes and going on so many interviews and just being so frustrated and defeated. So
for those that don't know, there is a shortage nationwide of strata managers and property managers and condo managers. And there was this big call, and there will be a big push for more managers over the coming years. But in response to that call, many have answered, and right now there's a glut of recent licensees that are looking for roles and where they're going to be. And it's an interesting place because it's a challenging economic cycle. Technology's been changing, and there's more caution than I think there has been in the past several years. And while I've spoken to plenty of property management firms who are looking for talent, they're looking for talent with 2 to 5 years of experience. Well, it takes 2 years to get into that window, and the recent licensees are going to need someone to open the door to help them get there. So that's the backdrop of today's call. And one of the things that I think is going to be interesting as the months go on, we see what's happening with hiring practices and with growth, because I think there's a huge amount of still organic growth within the industry as new buildings come on. And there's a lot of self-managed communities there that could use some help and advice.
Yeah. So, when I completed the course recently, as you know, and there's a whole lot of material that is covered in the course. Everyone knows it's a difficult course and even harder exam, but you don't get a manual for the current market conditions. So that you have to navigate completely on your own. Now, I took a little bit of a detour with a recruiter, not dumping on recruiters, but I was not seeing the momentum that I was hoping to see.
Yeah.
So I ended up reaching out to people, including Catherine, who has been such an enormous help to me. And that's what I would recommend for someone newly licensed is, it's one thing to be patient. It's another thing to wait for the clock to run out, because you only have a year to be collected by a brokerage from the time of completing your exam. So don't wait around, reach out to people and start talking to people face to face. And that's when I actually started to see the momentum in actually meeting managing brokers and whatnot.
Interesting. Catherine, as you say, you came in not in the role you were expecting, not in the time frame that you were expecting. What was the moment that you realized that this wasn't going to be what you expected?
From the very beginning, honestly, like the first week that someone yells at you in just such a degrading way. In the first couple of years, I can't tell you how many countless times I cried in my car. I think any of those moments, I would have told you I had no idea what I was doing and I was in over my head. But I am so stubborn, and I would say that if you're a brokerage looking for people that are going to stick with it long term, look for people who, through their stories, show an immense amount of stubbornness and tenacity, and those are going to be the ones that are strat managers long term for you, honestly, because I think those are the qualities that have gotten me through. Is yeah, you stick to it, and like you said, Hanka, it's one thing to recognize that the market is not great right now and there's hiring freezes and there's a lot of competition, but you can't just do nothing about it. No one's going to come and knock on your door unprompted and say, hey, we have this amazing job for you, do you want to like come here and have your pick of properties in a corner office? No, you have to start going to networking events, go to webinars and things, because a lot of those association webinars, they have chat groups or open discussions or breakout rooms or Q&As and things. And you can, if you're asking smart, sharp questions and you're making thoughtful observations, that starts to get to be known around town. Who's that person always in the webinars who's asking those amazing questions? People, are drawn to that. So I love that you mentioned that.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And there is no shortage of opportunities to reach out, which is the really good news. The PAMA events and the other associations that have
You got all the letters. You got CCF, PAMA, CHOA, BOMA, VIZOA. We're missing some. SPA-BC. We got, come on, where else? We got a couple more. Six so far.
Yeah, and those are just the associations. Those are not the actual people, the managing brokers, right?
Yeah.
And I have found anyone that I've talked to has been so supportive, and the entire atmosphere I found to be very collegiate, and and I've learned a lot. And I also encourage people who are starting out, talk to as many brokerages as you can, because no two are the same. And I learned something new from everyone I talk to. But that is the very good news, is that networking through the industry is actually quite pleasant and fun, to be honest.
Yeah, we can't resist a good theme in the industry too. So.
Yeah.
Catherine, you mentioned that you lacked some of that confidence and you felt like you were attacked and were attacked verbally, perhaps at a bunch of these early meetings and discussions. And you commented before this started on how you countered that out of the gate. How did you do it?
Yeah, after our first few meetings or experiences early on in my career, I learned that I was going to, especially as a younger woman, I was going to come up against those who would doubt me and detract from my presentations or my leading of the meetings. So I went on the offense. I had like my power suit dress with blazer and hair pulled back, makeup impeccable, like highest heels, I always say, but only ones that you can run in. And it's just never sit down. Unless, of course, there's like actually a guest speaker at the mic, and it would be weird if you didn't sit down. But just always standing, really asserting my presence, and really almost preempting. Like, you can borrow knowledge where you don't have it yet. So you can preempt things like in professional seminar that I did recently, there was a similar case, or through speaking with colleagues and shared experiences across our portfolios, what we've seen is, it's not you saying, I have experienced everything. It's you saying, I listen and I learn, and I'm bringing that here to you, to this conversation. So I find just preempting your own value through how you present yourself and introduce yourself in the meeting is incredibly helpful. So.
That's a great tip. Kinga, you've actually worked in a profession where being tall and being professional and your best is a prerequisite. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's one thing to look the part on the outside, to be honest with you, which is really important. but you have to really feel it on the inside. We express our emotions, like whatever's happening on the inside comes out, right? So I imagine, much like on camera in the realm of something like an AGM, you want to feel that power and strength internally. So you can command that presence, very similar to the way you have to command it in front of a camera. So get your insides straightened up, get your insides right, meditate, affirmations, visualization, all that stuff has a powerful impact, not only as to how you feel, but how you present yourself on camera and in the industry as well.
Cool. You did that, of course, as a host and a broadcaster. So you would know much better than someone like me who's only had to stand in front of people and cameras a few times. I don't know if I could do it, honestly, in that kind of a way. This feels nice because this is a webinar, a conversation, but I certainly am not inherently feeling like I want to be commanding in that sort of a way. So you guys both have the edge on me, which is
Public
fantastic.
speaking is a major fear of a huge majority of the population, so you're not alone in feeling that. Yeah. And I have to say, it just comes with practice. It doesn't come naturally to most people. And if it does, it's usually because they had transferable experiences from other fields or volunteering or something. It doesn't come from nowhere.
But once you have it, you've got it. And so transitioning from one role in front of the camera or in front of the crowd, I think will translate very well to one in front of Strata Council or to a owners meeting at an AGM.
100%. It is a little bit of performance, actually.
And
how much of it is a performance? Sorry, King, I spoke over.
Sorry, I talked. It all ties in. It all ties in with how you feel. It is a little unusual for me to be in the interviewee chair. I'm usually the one doing the interviewing.
It's good though. Asking questions of councils is what makes even better leaders. So like as a strata manager, where you don't have to tell them things, but you can just ask them questions and then they find the answer that you want them to find. That's actually even better. So I don't know. I think that's going to serve you well as a skill.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Catherine, you had some tips in that survival mode is not a strategy. So beyond wearing your best and looking like you're going to command that room and seeking the input and advice of, the Strata Council and running the meeting, what else do you need to think about as a Strata manager when you are going to walk in that door?
A lot of things is that, again, it's that idea that public speaking is a major fear and it's a skill and it's something that takes a lot out of you physiologically. And a lot of the time when we're preparing for a big meeting or something, we have these feelings of nervousness or unsettled in your stomach. You don't remember to do something simple like eating. And if you've worked all day at the office doing tasks, doing admin, and then you're going to go straight through downtown traffic or traffic wherever across town to get to the meeting by 6 or 7 o'clock, then you're going to do a 2 to 2.5 hour meeting. When are you going to eat? And so one thing I always recommend is, and if you look in my glove compartment of my car, and this started before I became a mom, because becoming a mom made it worse. But even before that, in my glove compartment always has things like protein bars. I have extra water. I have just stuff like that, like a juice box, some cookies, whatever, protein bars, things so that like you can take care of yourself if you need to. Advil, stuff like that. Just even if a little ritual like doing Evian spritz or having like a moment in your car to listen to music before meetings, take care of your body. Because that whole idea of standing in front of a crowd facilitating the meeting, it takes a lot out of you emotionally, physically, entirely. Also, tip, I've said this before to other people, but if you're really nervous, before a big meeting, go in your car, blast some Sia specifically, Unstoppable's really good song, and then scream at the top of your lungs, I'm excited! And then guaranteed you will start giggling to yourself and you'll feel amazing. So Just putting it out there. Interview before an interview too. Yeah. Multi-purpose.
That sounds fun. Kinga, you've been through this interview process, and I'm going to just tell you from the employer side, because we've done some hiring over the past year, and I've been inundated with super qualified candidates, really capable people. We post something, it's up there for a week, we get 700 applicants for a single position. Sure, half of them didn't even meet the qualifying criteria of being based in the province, but when you whittle them down to look at those that could potentially do the job, there's over 100 of them. You get to interview 15 and you end up picking one. It is a very difficult environment for those that are looking for a role. How do you keep from getting discouraged as you have these conversations? And what is it that you're hearing from potential hires about the market today?
Yeah, I think that's a really important question because when you hear, and I have heard that you don't have the job, it does feel a little discouraging, and it's hard not to feel a little bit crestfallen. And then when I go to ask why, then it's always, you know what, we were so lucky to have a lot of really passionate, really, competitive people that we interviewed. And I've heard more than once, if we had one more position, you'd be hired. Right. So I remind myself, this is not a referendum on my skills and qualifications. It is literally what is happening within the brokerages is so unique. It could be that I don't speak another language, or another nuance that, they're not sharing, but it's never negative. It's never negative. So, you just keep on going and know that a proper position is out there for you, and you are going to get that offer. Now,
I was going to say, one of the challenges you might face, because I see it a lot, is those that have too many qualifications or they're too experienced for a specific role, and an employer sometimes feels awkward about hiring somebody that they think is overqualified.
Yeah, or too polished. I've gotten that too.
I'll be honest,
really
if that's the vibe that's coming off of that employer, that is not the place to be, because a really strong culture and leader should never be threatened by bringing in smart people, by bringing in people who are confident and polished. That's such a benefit. It raises the entire bar. It makes me so sad to hear it, because I know that's 100% something that is systemic across not our industry, across all industries. It is sad though, because I think that a lot of places lose out on some really cool people as a result.
Well, absolutely. And also just speaking to the hiring atmosphere of the industry right now, at the end of last year, a lot of brokerages ended up slashing their training programs and started competing almost exclusively for experienced. So like you said earlier, Thomas, a minimum of 2 to 5 years. And, like a brokerage has to do what it has to do. It's still a business and what have you, but it might be a short-sighted approach if you have really good people coming through your door that are making a positive impact, right? So it's an interesting environment to be navigating right now, to say the least.
When you're only looking at drawing from the experienced pool too, you know what you have to do to get it? You have to poach it from your competitors. And if you can poach from your competitors, guess what? They can be poached from you. So instead, you want to look to create a culture where people are going to you for the personality and the corporate culture of that brokerage, Again, none of this is like unusual to our industry. It's common, and it's exactly the same story as when I started out. I offered I don't even know how many interviews I was on, but my favorite brokerage that I wanted to work for. Interview, same thing. We love you, Catherine. You'd be a great fit, but we're looking for someone with experience. That was the tagline, same time, 2011, when I was looking. Yeah. So I went back and I said, okay, I'll work for free. I'll do a 6-month internship, work for free to get experience, and then interview me again. And then we'll see. And I'm like, wow, that's a really great idea. Okay, let us think on it and get back to you. And I never heard from them again. So
Yeah, I also don't like to have people work for free for me. I like to make sure that they're paid for the work that they do. And while it is experience that they're building, it's also, an investment that you're
I'll be
making
honest, if someone's
in them in their
offering
future.
it because they're at that place and they have
Yeah,
the gumption to ask,
that would make me hire them.
sorry.
Um, I honestly have seen so many talented people at all sorts of skill levels apply. I would say that I have found people that are overqualified for some of the roles that we have. I just know that it's not going to be something that they're going to want to do. And I have sometimes found other positions for them and sometimes just indicated it wasn't a fit. But if you were a property management firm and you were looking to grow your business, you would think that valuing somebody that has maturity, polish, and the ability to tell a story as an extra asset beyond the role of a strata manager. And I don't know, are they creative enough to see that? Well, maybe not yet. Not the ones that you've had the pleasure of speaking with so far, but I see that as a huge opportunity.
Yeah. And again, you see this across all industries right now with this hiring freeze and such. So it's not even unique to Strata. This is a bigger conversation, but it's not hopeless. It does shift. It shifted before too. You have to stick with it. And like we've been talking about, put yourself in the path of the opportunities and build up your skills in between. There are so many free and low cost opportunities to excel your skills, or just go online and start reading the Strata Property Act section by section every day, making notes, digging into them, finding related resources. There's ways so that when you do get to that interview or you do get into your first portfolio, you are ready to hit the ground running. And honestly, even if nothing else, Strata is so relevant to everyday life, more so than we even realize. It's governance, it's housing, it's things we all need to know about as public, just individuals in the public. So like, okay, so you learned some more about public governance. Oh no, you're more informed and educated. Oh, I'm so sad for you. So like, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of a win-win, even though it is frustrating and it's slow right now, for sure.
So Kinga mentioned that there's been training programs that have been removed from some of the buildings, and Catherine, I think that's something you know about. It creates new opportunities. Like, when did you realize that no one was coming to save you, and what did you do next?
That is a really hard question. I don't think I could put it onto any moment. I think I honestly, I don't know. It's hard to say. I can't answer that this round.
You
Let me
just
think on
started
it.
building.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, because once you do start building, people start to notice. And the more that they notice, the more that you have to say. And the more that you have to say, the more people that notice. And that does build upon itself. So that's obviously a really great cycle. Um, when you talk about the challenges that you faced as a younger manager, what did you end up doing in the role that you didn't think you were going to do when you wrote that test? And this is like a preemptive question, because next year I'm going to ask Kinga the same thing.
I didn't realize how many times that I wish I brought a pair of slippers somewhere with me in my purse, because I don't like going around in bare feet or socks in someone else's house, I'll be honest. So I started saying that I can't take off my shoes because it's a work safe thing. So FYI, wish someone had told me that early on. Yeah. So
That is
just as
quite the
a
tip. I would
digression.
never have thought of that.
Yeah, just thinking about weird things that I wouldn't have thought about. That's one. I also wouldn't have thought about the number of times I've had to awkwardly turn down like really uncomfortable requests to go out on personal engagements or to stay for a meal or a coffee or such after a inspection or a move-in. And like,
Yeah.
there's a time and place, right? And you're a professional who's a property manager doing their job. It's never appropriate, even if you think it's just like a nice gesture. So, yeah. I wish some other people had said that more. more when I was going through that period. I wish there had been some more voices speaking out about some of those conditions in particular, and I'm certainly not shy to speak about them now. So if you're a new manager coming through and you're feeling like you're ever in unsafe situations, don't risk it. Just speak up. Put your foot down. I would say I wish someone had told me that also more in the beginning, that you don't, it's not worth it to put yourself at risk that way. So
That's very interesting. It's something that half the population doesn't know a whole lot about.
Yeah, that's one thing I've heard over and over again is be clear on your boundaries. As far as the mentorship and guidance I've received, that you have to have good boundaries
Yes.
in this industry. Yeah.
Catherine, how much did you realize you would be managing people and politics as much as Stratas?
No, that's what I always knew it all was. Honestly.
So you knew that because you grew up in it. I don't think.
Well, because it was my the Christmas table talks, right? Like it's
Yeah.
with my aunt and uncle and my dad, and everyone's talking politics and housing and council stories. So I maybe even studied sociology in university because I wanted to make sense of everything I heard growing up. I mean, actually now maybe I've just figured that out about myself. I find it fascinating. So I 100% knew going in that it was going to be like that. I didn't know how much I do not have a thick skin. Like, I find it helps when I'm now working with businessmen, especially to preempt things like this is a topic that is very personal to me, and I may get a little emotional. I may cry. It has nothing to do with the situation, and you can just we can continue on. And it sometimes helps, I find. But I wish someone also told me it's okay to not be super thick-skinned and that it's okay to cry and to feel things, because maybe if you're feeling things or crying, those situations shouldn't be happening to begin with, and maybe that the problem is not that the strata manager's crying, maybe the problem is the behavior. So, yeah.
This seems common across jurisdictions because we've heard it from Ontario, we've heard it from Australia, we've seen it in the US. It's interesting how universal that phenomenon is.
Yeah. Caregiving roles, which is what a strata manager is, ultimately, we're caring for a community. Caregiving roles are often very systemically undervalued and I want to say undertreated, mistreated, however you want to say it. I don't really want to politically wash that word too much, because maybe we need to sit with that feeling a little bit. Like, it's okay to be upset when you're talking to your strata manager because it's your home, it's your biggest investment, but preempt it. You know, hi, Catherine, I just want to tell you I'm really, really mad and I'm sorry I'm crying and screaming right now. I know this has nothing to do with you, but I really need your help and I'm going to scream and cry a little bit. Just acknowledging up front that you are upset and that you know the strata manager didn't personally do this to you before you scream and cry. Even that is really helpful, by the way, clients.
Yeah. And I think as a young manager, knowing when you come into it that you are dealing with people about something that is very emotional to them, it's probably their biggest asset. It also happens to be their home. They are deeply affected by what happens there, and they will get upset based on the removal of a tree that used to give them shade, or on the noise from a neighbor or their pet.
Not
or
that is the tree that they sat under when their baby was growing up after they just came out of the NICU unit, right? Like it's so much more than that, right? It's not just the tree with the shade. And that's what I think sometimes in the corporate offices they're not seeing on the ground. That's a strong, strong connection to people's homes, right?
Several people that I've had on our webinar so far have reiterated that point, Catherine, that these are such deeply personal conversations that you kind of have to absorb. And even if they're not giving you that disclaimer up front about them knowing it's not your fault, you just kind of have to have that hat on.
So
and
that's
like,
fine. It doesn't have to be the client up front, but then it has to be the brokerage on the back end that's constantly filling them back up, filling their cup, compensating them well, training them well, treating them well, so that they can continue to expend their care forward to the client. Otherwise, the client has to give them something back. So something has to happen here. Either the client has to give more back or the brokerage has to pad them more. But this person in the middle is literally being whittled away, essentially. That's what we're watching.
That's what Jason Kurtz at Strata West said.
Yeah.
Great message.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As someone who's
emotional
By the way,
intelligence is a
his people
skill.
internally speak very highly of him. So he sees the big picture.
Sorry, King, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, emotional intelligence is an underrated skill, I think, in this industry. You know, at the end of the day, you're dealing with people, with stories, with thoughts, with feelings, in addition to their investment and their living community. You know, so I think that's something that really needs to be brought to the fore. That you know, the compassion and the emotional intelligence in addressing people's concerns, absolutely, and each other as professionals too, for that matter.
Yeah, it's a job where I think those that survive have the high EQ. It's not about who's the smartest person coming into the room. It's that emotional level that will see them thrive and survive in what is a pretty high intensity role, responsible to an average of what, Catherine, 12 to 15 buildings on average?
Upwards of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and each of those will have 30 to 300 plus owners. So it's an enormous number of people that you're responsible for. And I get stuck on even before you get to the people, you're responsible for 15 buildings and knowing about the status of all of their capital projects and all of their maintenance scheduling and all of their vendors. And that alone gives me a degree
And
of
that they would
anxiety
win
because
and
I don't
finance.
think I could competently do that. And that I think speaks to the pressure that sits on strata managers, especially early in their careers, when they really don't understand the ins and outs and how to turn that natural cycle of each building into something that they can manage more effectively.
Yeah, I actually had someone tell me that they were a little concerned that I might be a bit too empathetic, which is actually a little bit fair, but I still consider it a superpower. I do.
It is a superpower.
We need
I was
more.
told once that I was too collaborative, and they like to see strata managers be more competitive comparatively. So, you know,
Yeah.
I came out of an industry
there's
where
a place for
competitive was big
everyone.
too,
There's
so
different personalities. Like things will shift and be like there is so much work needed, and I think that the clients are really yelling out for more care. So I hope that there's an evolution within the industry and within the bigger global market even to kind of readjust their level set a little bit maybe.
So as you guys know, I'm on the technology side, and technology is not going to fix the problems that exist in Strata, but it might allow slightly more efficient use of time and slightly better decision making, which allows the humans to do the part that they're best at, which is managing those relationships and making sure that everyone understands that their building is a priority and that they are being well taken care of. And there's lots of companies doing different things within strata management, document management, vendor supply, and managing tasks. One of the tools that we built is meant to help a property manager or the strata council understand their building better in context of the most similar buildings to them in the province. It doesn't solve anything. It won't fix anybody's issues, but it does allow them to have that comfort or that clarity around the fact that they're not unique in this regard or that they are special in a certain way. And it's not to say that that is needing to be addressed. If you've got the best Japanese gardens in Vancouver, you're going to have a higher landscaping budget than someone that has a little patch of grass. But technology can be made to be helpful, and I think that's what technology has always been for. It's to make the humans better at what we do, not
to give us
replace
back
anyone.
the time, not to replace it so we can load up more, like allow us the time to learn and grow and to do the critical thinking that comes from using the cool tools and reports, right? Like seeing the landscaping lines and the whatever lines that are skewed comparatively to other buildings in the neighborhood, and then being able to investigate and look into it further. So
yeah, and to be able to rationalize that, it's sometimes something that's a good problem. You realize that's what it is. In other cases, you see buildings with really bloated pest control budgets, and you're scratching your head going, well, why is this more than $10,000 a year? And then you find out that they've got a pharaoh ant problem, and they refuse to deal with it, and they kind of just treat it as it moves around the building, and so it's just this perennially high expense.
Mm-hmm. That could happen. You're absolutely right.
It could happen. Look, I think we wanted to keep this one short and sharp. I did have a question and answer for you guys to finish. It's what's that one thing that you wish somebody told you on day one, Catherine?
Your email inbox will never be zero from the day that you take your building, the first building.
It's true. Kinga, how about you?
Yeah, so I wish someone told me to start reaching out sooner than later to industry professionals and to not be passive. And it's not enough to just act on the job postings that you see, because as you said earlier, they're getting hundreds of applications. So I wish someone told me reach out yourself directly early on. Yeah.
And build those relationships. I think that's something that we've
Absolutely.
all been working on, is continuing to build our relationships within this industry, because that's how you get the call instead of having to make the application. And I think that that's something that will continue to grow. Thank you both so much. Before we go, I was going to say that next week I'm going to be joined by Jonathan Fenn of Reserve Sense to talk about depreciation reports, red flags, and what you need to know. Obviously, another very important subject within the world of Strata and as the role of Strata manager. So I'm looking forward to that one. I hope you can tune in. Thank you, Kat.